was an old wool stores. They were built during the war by the Yanks, evidently. They ended up the wool stores, but they were storage areas for the army. And they were built out of the heartwood of the timber, probably from Gippsland, the heartwood of the timber. That was what I used for the posts, and that's what they used there for their beams. And the purlins that they had to hold their timber on were my trusses. My trusses were 7" by 2. And the bastards made me do some really extreme sort of build, because I had a truss every 18 inches, whereas normally you have a truss every 4 feet. You have to have like 24 of them instead of about 10. So this thing was built like the proverbial. And even when the Shire guys came in at the end, they couldn't believe it, because it was so well built. There was so much timber in it. But I got the timber really cheap. I got a special sort of a device to pull the trusses up straight, because they were 16 feet high, fairly weighty. Well, that lining I think took me nearly 2 years by myself up there every weekend. And I had to, as I went up the roof, I put the battens for the tin. So as I went up, I made it sort of like a ladder. I was roped up all this time. I had a safety harness on. I was up there by myself. I only fell down once, fell through the roof once. Well, I just walked on a piece that was soft. I shouldn't have stood on it. It was like my foot went through the bloody thing. Gave me a bit of a scare too. It sort of went through the boards, luckily, and it stopped me because I had the harness on him, because it was 3 stories high, it was fairly high. And at any rate, so eventually I got it to the stage where you could put the roof on, and then it was then the roofing plumbers come in. I did a lot of the trenching around the sides, the sewage in. I did all that by hand actually, and into all that mud, into this fairly solid mud, what they call it, mud stuff. Yeah, well, the mud bricks, they came from a real character. He was a mud brick builder from years ago, he'd been doing it for years. But he had a patio, I forget where he was, up back at Kyneton somewhere. He built a pretty good mud brick. They were good to handle, you know. I got to be pretty good at, you had to shape them and cut them, you know. I used to use a saw, and I wore out. Used to buy these $2 saws, and I used to wear one out every weekend, shaping them and cutting them and doing all sorts of stuff like that. And we used to get the mortar for the mud bricks we got. That was worked out really easy, because we didn't have to mix it, which was a big saving. We got river sand from down on the river. What river is that? The Goulburn. Just out of Yea, there's a place there that they just come and they'd scoop it up, a couple of scoops, put in the back of my ute, and that'd do me for a couple of months. All they had to do was add a bit of lime to it, and off we went. So that was the mortar. They didn't get any lighter though, these bloody things. They weighed about 20 kilos each. They weren't like your normal bricky that's got to be perfect with the string line, because this wasn't what these things were about. They were good to work with, but when you got up to a height, they were a bit of a pain in the neck, because you've got to cut this 20 bloody kilo brick up the top, and you had to cut the shapes all around them, and it was a hell of a thing. I'd lift them in stages, so if I was going up really high, I'd have a platform. So you pick them up from the ground onto the platform, and 2 stages of the platform, and you'd be standing up a bit higher. So eventually you just have them at your feet, and you lift. Hard work. There's no 2 ways about it. But after a while you got used to it. When you stand back at the end of the day and see what you'd done, or when you finished off a wall, it was really a fantastic thing to see. And one of the little bits of enjoyment that I did have, I used to sit there every night and watch it, looking at all my walls. Because the good thing about a mud brick wall is it's not boring plaster. Everything you can see, everything's sort of different, you know. The whole wall's different, every brick's different, and all the little defects and everything else is quite an interesting thing to look at. You can just sit there and contemplate your wall if you wanted to. It was really good. Plus all the wood, of course, I had in it, beautiful grains that I had in the wood. Because I hand planed all the wood, all the big beams. Buggered out a little Nikita planer doing that. But everything was beautiful, you know, all the grains of wood with the mud bricks, and they all sort of combined together in the end to make a really fantastic little house. And when you see all those timbers all planed off, and all the grains sticking out, and all the mud bricks that all look different, every different shape, it's absolutely beautiful, really. It's a good way. It is a good place to live.